everyone, welcome to Reading with Eve. Let's get on with the bookish video. Today I am walking you through any fall themed book on my shelves that I have read so far. There are quite a few that I've not had the chance to read just yet, but I just wanted to make this video now, and then whatever is left over that can be for next year, an updated version. But I will go through my shelves and literally anything that is autumn themed, set in autumn, like any kind of autumn vibes in any way, it qualifies. And since I've already spoken about all of these books in some capacity or another, I'm not going to go into massive details about them. Kind of like more think a quick fire, not review necessarily, but like just a summary of them. I say that, but I still end up rambling. But anyway, I will, as usual, start from this shelf and just make my way sort of there, and then we'll just finish with the downstairs shelf. So let's begin. The first category is, of course, slashers. So autumnal slashers that I have read so far would be the following. First one is The Mary Shelley Club by Moldy Goldovsky. This is about overprivileged group of teens in a private school who take this girl who doesn't quite fit in there under their wing, knowing that she has some trauma that she needs to process, and they introduce her to this prank ritual that they don't like to call a prank because it's meant to be something a lot more prestige. But as a real killer starts wreaking havoc on everyone around the group, our main character starts expecting that one of her newfound friends is a potential killer. And yeah, this is still one of my favorite slashers. It's YA technically, but it doesn't feel like YA. It rather feels a book about young people, not a book necessarily written for young people. And it was just such good fun. It just had me on the edge of my seat, and yeah, it's just really appropriate for the autumn season as well, because it has all the right vibes. Then I have a few quicker ones that I've read very recently. So I have The Sleepover Massacre by Brian G. Barry. This is about an escaped mental patient who has committed a murder scene before he was contained, and we have a detective on his case. This detective wants to essentially just eliminate this psychotic killer, as you do, kind of like a little bit of a Dr. Loomis, Michael Myers vibes, I guess. But either way, our psycho killer finds a slumber party that is being hosted by the neighborhood kids in order to get frisky. So needless to say that there is definitely some havoc to be wreaked there. Very autumnal, very, well, I would say pretty gory for sure, and just, good mindless fun. Then I have Dead End Drive-In by B. Humphrey, a very short novella, like 50-something pages, about a group of teens who go to a drive-in movie theater, and they discover that all the creatures from their favorite horror movies, including some slasher monsters, are coming to life, and they have to use their horror knowledge to try to evade them. Again, very atmospheric, very good fun, just some mindless entertainment. And then I have Babysitter Bloodbath by Regina Watts. This is inspired by an 80s retro video game, apparently, but it also has a lot of connotations to John Carpenter's Halloween. This is about our main girl, Sarah, who is babysitting her neighborhood's kids one night, and we have, again, an escaped mental patient who is just looking to spill more blood. And of course, it doesn't help that the house that our main character is babysitting at was one of his murder sites. And I would say this one, go with a little bit of caution. because it was like, it's actually a bit towards splatterpunk, a little bit of extreme horror sprinkled here and there, which I wasn't expecting, but it wasn't too bad because I have read some of that before. But either way, just be mindful that it's definitely more leaning towards that as opposed to something quiet and suspense building. So these are the slashers. I have read more, but they kind of scream a bit more summer to me. So, you know, hence the recommendation. Then I have some horror books that scream autumnal. So in my horror category, I have The Lamb by Lucy Rose. This is about a mother and daughter who are capturing people lost in the area and murdering and eating them. And they seem to have like this super twisted thing kind of down to the T going well for them until one day her mother finds a lover in one of their intended victims and everything changes. This is a very folky, very sort of slow burn story about a lot of things really. Parental neglect, about just passivity in your own life, and about a lot of different things that tie in together into a really heartbreaking finish. Then I have The Dark Descent of Elizabeth Frankenstein by Kiersten White. This is a retelling of Mary Shelley's Frankenstein, and this is about, well, it is the story of Frankenstein, but it is from Elizabeth's POV. It is a feminist retelling without being overly, what's the word for it, preachy and overly like, oh my god, look, we're so feminist. It actually hits all the right spots, and it really makes you appreciate some undertones in the original story as well. I don't think that you need to read the original story and to understand what's happening here, but it might help if you read the synopsis, because I know that the original text can be very dense, especially if you are not really a classics reader. So that is this one. Then I have The Furies by Katie Lowe. This is the closest that I've ever got to the Craft film in book form. It is about 4 girls in a boarding school who think that they're witches, but it is so much more than that, and a lot of the times it is kind of different than that in a way. It is about toxic female friendships, about your sense of wanting to belong but then losing yourself in the process, you know, what's right or wrong, thinking about how to not cross that line and lose everything you believe in, sort of thing. I was actually quite disappointed when I read it as I read it, but then again, I was not in a good mental headspace when I was reading it, but then after a while I appreciated it a lot more. I would say it is definitely perfect for autumn season. And then I have Bunny by Mona Awad. It is a psychological horror story about a girl who wants to be included in this group of her writing class that call each other Bunny, and they're all like really weird, but she's still entranced by them. Like, she wants to see what's behind closed doors, and she definitely gets that and more than she bargained for. It is a very fever dream, like mindfuck, what the hell am I reading sort of story, and it just you know, it hits all the right spots. It's very unique, it's very like divisive. Not everyone's gonna love it, but you really have to put your thinking cap on and interpret it in your own way. Then I have Suburban Hell by Maureen Kilmer. It is basically Desperate Housewives, but with an exorcism. We have 4 middle-aged women who just enjoy each other's company. Like, it's their highlight of their week to have wine together and you know, have a bit of a gossip together and all that. And then one of them starts acting really strange, and they think that she is possessed by someone or something. You know, they take it upon themselves to see what they can do to get their friend back. It is comedic, it is gross, it is very heartwarming, ironically, and it is just a good, fun time. Then I have You Must Not Miss by Katrina Leno. This is not so much of a horror, really. Well, it has horror elements, that's why it's on the horror shelf, but it is also kind of like magical realism story about a girl who was taken advantage of at a party, and she is now social piranha, and she retreats to this place that she calls Near, and this place starts materializing, and she uses it to get revenge on people who wronged her. If you're looking for a story with an unlikable protagonist, this is definitely the one for you, because it is definitely a case of this person is not easy to root for despite all the bad things that happened to her, but she's definitely captivating enough for you to be, well, captivated by what's going to happen next. Then I have House of Hollow by Crystal Sutherland. This is about three sisters who disappear on New Year's Eve, and they come back, but something is not, like, it's just not the same. And then years later, they're grown up, and they find out that their oldest sister has gone missing again, and they want to finally get to the bottom of what happened to them when they were children. It's a very folky vibe. It's very disturbing for a YA. Like, this could have easily been an adult horror. It is very imagery heavy. It is very nature heavy. Very, again, although a lot of it is set during winter time, for me it screams autumn because of all the nature vibes going on. Then Say Her Name by Juno Dawson. It is a Bloody Mary homage set in a boarding school where a bunch of teenagers accidentally end up setting her free, and she wreaks havoc on the school. It is just a simple, fun time with a little nice plot twist at the end. One of my personal favorites, This Is Not a Test by Courtney Summers. It's actually getting a reprint next year, which I'm definitely going to buy because it has apparently some scenes and chapters that were cut because of her editor, so it's going to be her version, how she wanted to tell the story. Of course, I'm keeping this. It's one of my oldest books that I own, but this one is about Sloane, who is super depressed and suicidal, but she is in the middle of a zombie apocalypse, surrounded by people who want to live, and she finds a new meaning in life in the world that doesn't really feel very livable anymore. It's scary, it's gross, but it's also very bittersweet and very thought-provoking. Then, technically the entire Grady Hendrix's backlist could qualify as an autumn story. I would say just vibes are definitely immaculate for that. I'm not gonna pull them out because I got a little decor there, but as you can see, Southern Book Club's Guide for Slaying Vampires, Witchcraft for Wayward Girls, Horrorstör, My Best Friend's Exorcism. I would include all of them in the recommendations list. If you've not heard of Grady Hendrix, he writes very creature feature based stories that are also metaphors for, you know, real life horrors and challenges and what. So you have My Best Friend's Exorcism. It's about two girls who are like the best of friends. They've been for years, and then one of them is possessed by a demon, as you do, you know, standard teenagehood. Then Southern Book Club's Guide to Slaying Vampires. You have a suburban housewife book club where it's their solace from, you know, all the chores and all the annoying husbands and the children and all of that. And then this strange man kind of just invites himself into their circle one day, and our main character realizes that there's more to him than meets the eye. Horrorstör is about essentially a haunted IKEA where superstore-like members of staff try to survive the night there and protect their store. And Witchcraft for Wayward Girls is about young teenage girls who are forced to give up their babies for adoption as to not shame their family, and they discover a hidden witchy strength in between them, among them. That's the word. I know these are very short summaries, but I think that Grady Hendrix is a fairly known writer, so I think that it summarizes what he's going for with these books. And obviously you can always read up the synopsis as well. Like, I'm not going to read out every single synopsis, it's just not very practical, is it? But then a few more horror books that scream autumn for me are The House That Horror Built by Christina Henry. This is about a single mother who needs any kind of job to keep afloat, but she doesn't have the education, so she works as a cleaner at a movie producer's home, but she thinks that this house is haunted. And this story is a lot more than you would think. It wasn't my favorite book of hers, but ultimately I did have a good time with it. And then I have Pen Pal by Dathan Auerbach. This is a Reddit creepypasta turned novel about a man who is starting to remember things from his childhood that don't quite seem right. And he realizes that he had an obsessive stalker throughout his formative years. And there is a lot more to the story. It is definitely creepy, unsettling, and outright chilling at times. And don't let the fact that it was a Reddit creepypasta first deter you from giving this one a go. I'm also not going to take apart my Riley stack just because they are put together quite tight. But I would say Riley books that scream autumn for me at the moment, I still have 4 of History, which is fantastic, would definitely be Survive the Night and Final Girls. I would say those are definitely the most autumnal ones for me. And I know that both of them are very low for people in his bibliography, but I really enjoyed both of them. So Survive the Night is about Charlie, who basically hitches a ride to get home because she wants to leave the university after her friend's murder, and she starts thinking that she is stuck in the car with said murderer. And then Final Girls is about Quincy, I think that's the name, and she's a survivor of a massacre that killed all of her friends, and she's one of the final girls, so there are 2 other women who survived similar type of massacres, and then she finds out that one of them has committed suicide and the other one shows up at her door, and they think there might be more to the story, and they think that whoever is after them too, they want to finish the job, what they started all those years ago. And it is definitely twisty, it is definitely on the edge of your seat, it is a wild ride, that's for sure. So with that, like, we're steering into thrillers, as you can see. So some more autumnal thrillers now. I'm kind of going based off vibes. Not all of these are set in the autumn time, but it just screams autumn to me. So some of the ones that I could think of are In My Dreams I Hold a Knife by Ashley Winstead. It's about a group at their university reunion, and they are hiding a dark secret that is threatening to come out and ruin all of their well-established, well-built lives. And there are also a lot of flashbacks to the past, you know, how those characters got to that point, sort of thing. One of my, if not the favorite adult thrillers of all time, Sharp Objects. I can't speak. Sharp Objects by Gillian Flynn. It is about our main character, Camille, who is a reporter who goes back to her small hometown to investigate some teenage murders, and she ends up living in her old family home with her mother, and there's a lot of baggage there, not to mention her half-sister, who is incorrigible, as she herself calls, well, herself. It is dark, it is twisted, it is very unexpected, and it has a lot to say in a way that only Gillian Flynn can say it. Then I have The Turn of the Key by Ruth Ware. This is about Rowan, who she needs a babysitting job, like, immediately to, well, keep her life on track, and she takes one that is in this smart home for the super rich family, but things aren't quite as they seem. Everything's really creepy and everyone is just acting really weird towards her, and she thinks that she probably made a big mistake, but it's kind of too late now, so she has to just ride this out. It is regarded by a lot of people as Ruth Ware's best book. I'm not sure if I agree with that myself personally, but for me, it was still a fun ride. A lot of unexpected twists. Definitely one of the creepiest atmospheres she's ever done in a book, and I think she's amazing at that, and I had a really good time with it. Then I have The Maidens by Alex Michaelides. This is about Anna who goes to comfort her niece after her friend has been found murdered at her university campus, like her alumni. Like, she's an alumni there. She studied in that university, and she meets this professor who has what he calls the Maidens, like an exclusive high society. They focus on all sorts of ancient Greek literature and whatnot, and she takes it upon herself to investigate because something doesn't seem quite right. So it's very kind of like dark academia as well. Think of that vibe. Very kind of like a posh thriller, I would say. If you don't know anything about Greek mythology, you're probably going to be a bit confused. But overall, I had a good time with it, but it is a very divisive book of his. And then, of course, I can't not mention it. I have Sadie by Courtney Summers. This is a story of our titular character who is avenging the death of her sister, because she knows who her sister's killer is, and she knows exactly how to get him. And we also follow this guy who is hosting a podcast about missing girls, and he's always one step behind, trying to figure out how to find our Sadie. Is he going to reach her in time? Is the secret gonna be unraveled of everything that's happened to those poor two little girls? It's anyone's guess. It's amazing. It's very underrated. Like, it is a well-known book, but it's not well-known enough. It is very underrated, and it is technically YA, but it's definitely darker than a lot of adult thriller books that I've read, and it deserves all its flowers. So definitely keep this one. So I am pretty sure that I'm missing some thrillers that could qualify for this, but a lot of thrillers I read, they're more like, I associate them more with like winter vibes rather than autumn. So I think we're just gonna move on to fantasy for now, and then if I can think of any that I missed, I'm just going to include them in the next year's one. But anyway, onto the fantasy. We have the V. Schwab, of course, like ultimate autumn girly. I'm not gonna pull out the books because they're also in a bit of a stack, but I have The Invisible Life of Addie LaRue, The Near Witch, and City of Ghosts. City of Ghosts is a middle grade about a girl whose parents are ghost hunters, and it's such good fun. It is written really well, even though it is a middle grade. It is creepy, and it has some nice character development. And then The Near Witch is essentially a folktale about, well, a witch who wants to take children from the small town, and that leaves everyone in a bit of mob mode, but our main character gives the benefit of the doubt to someone who she believes is innocent, but the rest of the town want to crucify, basically. And then The Invisible Life of Addie LaRue, we have our titular character who essentially makes a pact with the devil to escape an arranged marriage, and she gets cursed with an immortal life, but no one remembers her when she leaves the room. That's the curse. So she is meant to spend the rest of forever just completely alone, only with the devil to talk to sometimes, until she meets someone who remembers her. And it is my favorite book from 2024. It is beautiful, poignant, heartbreaking. It has so much to say, and the writing is perfect. So I really, really loved it, and I would recommend it very highly to everyone. So I have The Grimrose Girls, which is kind of like a twist on fairy tales. You have 4 girls who are studying in the school where young women keep dying in very mysterious circumstances, and they're suspecting that it is because they were incarnates of fairy tale versions, like of Brothers Grimm fairy tales, and they're dying in those same fated ways. It has surprisingly really good chronic pain rep. I know it's very random, but it's really well done. It has some really interesting character development, and I'm actually intrigued to read the sequel, which it's been a year since I read this, so I probably wouldn't remember what happened, but still, I would read it. And then I have House of Salt and Sorrows by Erin Craig. This is a retelling of 12 Dancing Princesses, and it is about a family who is cursed as their daughters keep dying, and kind of just goes on from there. Our main character tries to break this curse, and it is really creepy among having really good lore and mythology. And then I have one that I read recently, The Night Circus by Erin Morgenstern. This is about, well, about the titular Night Circus, but not just that. It is about two magicians who are fated to fight one another to death, basically, but they fall in love. I'm simplifying it a lot, but this is very, like, all vibes and minimal plot until, like, the last third or something, and it is just, it is like a warm blanket wrapped around you. It is so atmospheric. It is so amazingly written. It is so sad but poignant. It is, like, it's one of the best fantasy books that I've read ever. I can guarantee that. I have a couple Dark Academias that everyone mentions all the time, but I just feel like you can't do a fall video, autumn video without mentioning them. But these two are If We Were Villains and The Secret History. They're both centered around a group of people who want to get away with things that you shouldn't get away with. Here we have Greek theater geeks who take what role they get way too seriously, and things get very out of hand. And here you have pretentious twats who are in this super exclusive Greek literature class together, and you have this wannabe who wants to get included in this group, and he is, but with disastrous consequences. Again, I feel like I'm describing these very weirdly, but I'm just sort of like taking my own twist to it, because I just feel like these books have been talked about a million times. But yeah, this is just about a bunch of rich assholes who think they can, you know, dump up crap on someone's doorstep and they will, you know, get a thank you for it. And they find out that it's not quite that simple. So yeah, it is, one of them is definitely objectively superior to the other, just with the writing and everything, but ultimately I would say that if you are just starting to Dark Academia, like starting in that subgenre, then this one is probably better to start with, because this one, it can get a bit dense. But I personally didn't mind, because I've read books like that before. But if you are just starting on that, something to think of. And just to finish off autumnal reads that I have, so we have Rebecca by Daphne du Maurier, which is probably like the ultimate autumnal gothic-y vibe about a young woman who marries a man who could basically be her father, and it just gets really out of hand really quickly when he takes her back to his estate, and they let's just say his first wife is haunting the place in more ways than one. It is a fantastic read that did not feel dense to me at all, despite it being like more than 400-ish pages. Then I got I don't know, the Bell Jar feels a bit more wintry for me, but I guess in a way it is like the embodiment of sad girl autumn, but that's not to discredit the tragic story of the author. But it is a semi-autobiographical book by Sylvia Plath about a young writer's journey in New York City that ends up on a bit of a tragic note, because she gets committed to an asylum wanting to end her own life. It is very poignant, very sad, and very bittersweet. It talks a lot about things that, well, you know, things that aren't easy to talk about when it comes to, you know, suicidal thoughts and all that. So definitely be cautious. You need to be in a good headspace to read this book. I've not read any of these apart from my Dark Vanessa, and I think a lot of these could fall under autumnal stuff, but I don't want to lie to you, so we're gonna skip that. What do we have here? Anything here that could be autumnal? I don't think so, to be fair. A lot of these either scream like winter or summer to me, or they're not very seasonal. So let me just double check. To be fair, I think these might actually be, the ones that I mentioned might actually be the last ones. A bit of an anticlimactic ending, I guess, but at the same time, I just can't think of anything that screams autumn to me in that sense, and I want to be authentic. So that would be it for this video. If you have read any of these, please do share your opinions because I would love to hear them. And I hope to see you next time.